Arctic Monkeys are... how do I put this concisely? Well, they've been the soundtrack to my life. They're a band that have had a prolific 20-year career, 7 full-length studio albums, 6 #1 albums, from their iconic debut album, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, with party mainstays like I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor, to the American rockabilly slow jam-inspired AM, widely considered to be one of the best albums of all time. The band are as relevant today as they've ever been. Just last year, I watched them conquer the world's biggest stadiums on the car tour, 3 times to be exact. I saw them thrice. And even 505 off of Favourite Worst Nightmare, a tune initially released in 2007, got its second moment in the spotlight on TikTok. But they've seemingly done all of this by breaking almost every rule in the book. In fact, I'd go as far as saying you should probably do the opposite of what Arctic Monkeys have done. I mean, if you were a young band right now asking a record label how you could stay relevant, they'd be saying, don't release one album every 4 years. Don't not do interviews. Don't start wearing your dad's clothes and making lounge jazz music. And let's be honest here, the music industry is brutal. And it's as brutal as it's ever been. I mean, most bands these days tend to rise fast, burn bright, and then fade even faster. The term indie landfill certainly comes to mind here. Yet, Arctic Monkeys, 20 years on, are not just surviving, they're thriving. But Arctic Monkeys' longevity is no accident for me. I think their evolution over the past 20 years has been a masterclass in staying relevant. And in this video, I want to explore how. How on earth has this band managed to remain on top of their game for so long, while seemingly doing everything wrong? From constant sonic reinvention that seems to alienate half of their fan base, to an overprotective obsession with their image, to distracting side projects, to a distinct lack of productivity, offering us fans only 2 albums in the past 10 years. Well, I think it's by being different, by not doing what is considered to be the right thing to do, and by constantly challenging the status quo. Arctic Monkeys seems to be the ultimate blueprint for modern bands. Not just to stay relevant, but to have a prosperous career in music, and to build a legacy that will become a story worth telling in years to come. So if you're an artist or just a fan of great music, stick around, this one's for you. Let's begin with the obvious one here. The sound. I know this sounds proper corny, but whenever I'm in the pub discussing music with my mates, specifically Arctic Monkeys, we always seem to mention at one point or another their lack of productivity. I mean, they've offered us just 2 albums in the past 10 years, but I always end up defending the band saying this thing again and again, which is that when Arctic Monkeys release an album, it's not just another album, it's an event. It's a statement, because they have something new they want to say. Arctic Monkeys, in my opinion, don't just release music for the sake of releasing music. It has to mean something to them, and it has to be a progression. I mean, you can see their thought process behind making an album. Every album is an opportunity to progress the sound, to try something new, to improve and perfect what was an experiment on the previous album. Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not was pure indie grit. By the time we got to AM, that blended classic rock with hip-hop style beats and R&B style falsetto vocals. And then came Tranquility Base, Hotel and Casino, a bizarre jazzy concept album about a lunar colony. I mean, who saw that coming? Who saw that coming? But that's the magic of Arctic Monkeys. They never repeat themselves. And they never overstay their welcome when it comes to a particular sound, to the point where it starts to get boring and repetitive. I mean, I can think of a few bands right now, just off the top of my head, that have been making the same album over and over again for almost 20 years. But I'm trying to be nice today, so I'm going to keep that to myself. In an era where so many artists just play it safe when they've found a winning formula, I think Arctic Monkeys' willingness to experiment and try new things has to be respected, even when it doesn't completely come off. Reinvention for me isn't just a strategy for Arctic Monkeys, it's in their DNA. Okay, let's talk about the band's commitment to press, promotion and media exposure, or rather their distinct lack of commitment. In a world where artists are constantly online, posting everything from their breakfast to what their opinions are on trending artists on Instagram or YouTube, in a bid to get attention and get recognised for their art. Cough, cough. By the way, that's your cue now to share this video with someone and tell them how great this channel is. Cheers. Arctic Monkeys go completely the other way. They don't really post, do they? And they rarely give interviews. And when they do, good luck getting fully formed sentences out of Alex Turner.
I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit of the process behind that song.
There's almost this cult mentality in how they operate, a closed circle of trust. I mean, Alex Turner once said, "I don't think I've got anything particularly important to say on Twitter." And I think that's kind of the point in the modern age of oversharing. Sometimes it can just be too much, to the point where even your own fans start to get sick of you and want you to go and hibernate for a while. And when you keep posting for the sake of posting content, releasing songs for the sake of releasing songs, it can be really hard to understand what to pay close attention to and what to disregard, what to engage with actively and what to engage with passively. Not only does the band's lack of online activity create intrigue in itself, but it means that when they do eventually post something, people pay attention. Arctic Monkeys certainly have proven at times that the less they share, the more we care. And yes, there is a massive caveat to this argument, which is that you actually have to spend a good amount of time building up your audience for them to eventually miss you in the first place. And I'm not for 1 second saying that modern artists should not be posting on social media. I'm just saying that if there's one thing that we can learn from Arctic Monkeys' approach, it's to be intentional with the content that you share. Don't just put stuff out for the sake of it, but when you do have something meaningful to say, then share it. And you might find that your audience is more actively engaged with your content than passively engaged. And linking in with this point nicely is Arctic Monkeys' approach to album releases. Some may call it a lack of productivity, I call it quality over quantity. The band aren't just releasing music for the sake of it. And yes, I know, we all want more music from Arctic Monkeys. But I really do enjoy how intentional they are in what they want to make next. Their albums for me certainly feel well considered, deliberate and meticulously crafted, and each one is so unique. Arctic Monkeys don't just churn out songs and albums to trend hop or to stay in the algorithms or whatever. They take their time. I mean, between AM and Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, there's a 5-year gap. And sure, we were all impatient, we were wanting that AM follow-up. But when it dropped, it was worth the wait. Well, for me it was anyway. But enough time had passed. Enough life had been lived. For the songwriting, the sound, the feel, the look, the concepts to all move on. In a streaming world that demands constant content, Arctic Monkeys remind us that great art takes time. It's certainly not a process-driven thing. And if you treat it as such, that's how you end up with a homogeneous mess that all sounds the same. Which, funnily enough, is how I describe the majority of Spotify these days. But it's not just album frequency, it's what's on the albums as well. In an age where albums seem to be getting longer and longer, it's incredibly refreshing to see that the car only has 10 songs on it, but 10 songs that are all vastly different in sound, style and structure. If any of those 10 songs were removed from the car album, you'd notice, the album would be missing something. And I just don't think you can say that about a lot of these 20-track plus pop records. Save the best one to the last, haven't I? Now, I've always described Arctic Monkeys as a band that are constantly in student mode. They're always learning and applying those new skills and techniques in their music. In my opinion, Alex Turner's side projects are his secret weapon. Between Arctic Monkeys albums, he's out there experimenting, learning and trying out new things. Whether it was diving into the world of Scott Walker and orchestral arrangements with the Last Shadow Puppets, or having a go at writing acoustic singer-songwriter type songs for the Submarine film soundtrack, or experimenting with lush, melancholic production on Alexandra Saviour's album Belladonna of Sadness. These aren't just side gigs for me, these are creative experiments. An opportunity to learn new skills, to gain fresh perspectives and inspiration for that next Arctic Monkeys record. Not to mention the collaborations with Josh Homme on Humbug and Arctic Monkeys extended band members. Let me know in the comments if you want a video on Arctic Monkeys extended band, by the way. But yeah, one thing's for sure, these side projects aren't just secondary offshoots, they're not just spin-offs. They're intrinsic to the sonic progression of the Arctic Monkeys. And And finally, for me, there is a sentimental aspect to all of this as well. The fact that me and maybe you watching and so many of us have grown up with the band is something that should be mentioned as well. The stuff that they've written about across their 20-year career has evolved just as much as their sound has. I mean, early Arctic Monkeys was about nights out in Sheffield and chip shops. Chip shop rock and roll, as Alex Turner puts it. But as the band have grown, their lives have no doubt changed dramatically, and so have their stories. It's refreshing for me to see a band stay true to themselves as they change and as they go through life. They don't still try and write about chip shops and nights out in Sheffield anymore, because it's most likely a million miles away from the life that they live now. And I think it's because of this that their music means something to and resonates with multiple generations of people. I think by changing and constantly evolving and growing up with us, they've kept old fans engaged, whilst drawing in new ones at the same time. So yeah, Arctic Monkeys' continued success isn't just luck for me, nor is it a result of their earlier success. I think it's down to the fact that they've constantly tried to push boundaries. They've constantly reinvented their sound with every album, and they've maintained somewhat of a mysterious aura about them from avoiding social media and doing as few interviews as physically possible. And they've always acted like the student rather than the master, even though some people might say they're more the latter at this stage. They've embraced growth and continually gone out of their comfort zone to learn new skills and have new musical experiences. And I think that's why 2 decades in, and they're still at the top of the game. But I'm interested to know what you think, and if you're taking any of these learnings away and applying them to your own creative endeavours, whatever that might be. Is Arctic Monkeys' approach here something that other artists should follow? Let me know in the comments. Oh, and if you're new here, I'm Sanjay. I make videos about music, creativity, bands that I like, and pretty much everything in between. Drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, subs for more, and if you do want to dive deeper into the world of Arctic Monkeys. I've got a few other videos on this channel that you might be interested in watching next, and they should be appearing on screen around about now. And with that said, thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Cue outro theme tune. 5 and you know it's true.